Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our Thursday evening meditation group. So settling in to the present, let's start with our meditation. So taking this time to consciously set up the mind for our meditation, having established a comfortable sitting position, aligning our body with some degree of symmetry, balance, poise, which helps to correspond to the mind, creating some inner mindful balance, poise, and presence. Our eyes gently closed, which helps to bring our awareness within. And having our initial deep, relaxing, letting go breath. The soothing power of a letting go breath. Breathing out any stress, tension that might have been building in our body over the happening of the day, the happening of the week. Breathing out, relaxing, releasing, letting go. Using this time to let go of issues, worries, concerns, things on the mind. Disengaging from the ways and issues, the worries and woes of the world. And also disconnecting for the next while from roles and responsibilities. Appreciating that roles come with responsibilities, issues, concerns, and also thoughts. Even giving our brain mind a break from the need to be poured into engaging with thoughts, with thinking, but rather using our mind to exercise and strengthen focused attention in the present. Our meditation is practicing being present, present to life just here, just now. Living now, not next. Becoming receptive, attentive, focused in on the present moment, this place and point of existence, the present. And as our reference point for the present, we can use the naturally occurring sensation of our breath. Our breath is always only had and felt and experienced in the present, each individual breath. Aligning our mind with the breath, which helps to bring mind and body together. That oneness, mind, body, oneness. And also helps the mind to develop deeper states of awareness, consciousness, concentration. But before focusing on our breath, just feeling into the body as this platform of experience, mindfulness of the body. Noticing what we can sense and feel from our body. Maybe some basic contact sensors, contact points, feet connecting with the floor. Feeling that. The floor beneath our feet. Feeling our body connecting with the chair, the cushion or meditation stool. Noticing that particular experience of contact sensation. Body against chair, cushion or stool. Noticing the placement of our hands and fingers, making sure they feel comfortable. Adjusting them if we need to. One hand resting in the palm of the other. Sensation of hands and fingers. bringing awareness up to our face, noticing our face, maybe even sensing the air connecting with our face. The more subtle experience of light coming in through the closed eyelids, experiencing that visual experience of lightness, brightness, color, patterning, or just a blankness, and even looking into that lightness, brightness, blankness through the closed eyelids. And whilst there may be a few background sounds, not being distracted or disturbed by them, and particularly not being caught into the internal mental sound of thought or the mental sight of thoughts, choosing to not engage into thinking, but rather choosing to focus attention in the present by directing attention to each breath, each naturally occurring breath, not forcing or controlling the breath, letting our body breathe itself naturally, directing attention, sustaining attention at that point of contact somewhere in the nose nostril area, receiving the in-breath, relinquishing that as the out-breath, allowing the in-breath, letting go, developing this calm, focused attention, feeling each breath, looking into the lightness, brightness, using one or two mental words in the mind if it's helpful. Calm on the in-breath, ease on the out-breath. Calm, ease, calm, ease, calm, ease. Exercising attention, developing focus, mental collectedness, composure, concentration, and inner calm ease. Please help yourself to some tea, biscuits, and we can have some reflections and discussion. Jenny, how did you find out about the meditation group?
On the internet.
Okay.
Yeah, just randomly found it.
Okay, good.
But I have been to, I'm sure I did a weekend with you when you were in Sydney many years ago.
Right.
That's what caught my attention.
So whereabouts was that?
You came up to Newcastle on the Lifeline telephone counter.
Okay, yeah.
Workshop I said.
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
A long time ago.
Yes.
So I still appreciate that, Dave.
Oh, good. Have you been keeping up with some meditation?
Yes, not so much. Since I've moved up here, I haven't connected with the group my first time. But when I was in Newcastle, I still meditate personally regularly each day.
Very good.
But not with a group for about 4 years.
Yeah, well, if you're a Lifeline counsellor, you need to look after yourself with some meditation.
But yeah. Very
good.
I was at the time.
Do you get my newsletter?
No.
Okay, so if you, down the back, there's a clipboard. If you put your name and contact details there, then you can get onto my e-newsletter, which comes out sort of usually 4 times a year and mentions when I've got retreat days on and things like that. So last Sunday we had our meditation retreat day, the first one for the year. One of a number that we'll have during the year. So quite a few of you were here for that. And as is a practice which we've established, the Thursday evening after a retreat day, use that as a bit of a debrief or to make a comment of what was interesting, what was insightful, any questions from the retreat day, particularly in the context of the theme of the particular retreat day, which was this one that we just had was meditations and reflections on beginnings and endings. So just as a bit of a summary of that, appreciating that life is beset with beginnings and endings. Life is all about beginnings and endings. The fundamental fabric of life is beginnings and endings. And the fabric of beginnings and endings is experienced as change. Everything is subject to change. The Buddha said all conditioned things, all phenomena will change. So beginning and then ending. As to how long there is in between the beginning and ending is variable. It does depend on other causes and conditions, which also relates to another aspect of life being uncertain. Something's begun, how long will it last? Well, we can't actually say. It's uncertain. We might like it to last a long time, but it doesn't. We may want it to last a short time, but it doesn't. So there's that uncertainty that we live with. And whilst it's evident, it's blatantly obvious that things come, things go, things begin, things end, things arise, things pass away. Yep, that's how it is. But often we don't want it to be like that. We don't want something to change. We don't want something to end, or maybe we don't want something to begin. Or even it gets more complicated. I want this to begin. It begins. No, I don't want it anymore. So I have to put up with it for a while. The mind can complicate lots of things. So it's about learning to accommodate this reality, this truth of beginnings and endings, because it is part and parcel, fundamental fabric of life. And so if we have a sense of understanding, appreciation, awareness, and wisdom, we can flow with the beginnings and endings so that they don't cause so much distress or grief or despair. And again, that it also does depend upon whether we want the thing to begin or we want the thing to end, of what value it has to us, so forth. So it's quite relative. As I mentioned on the retreat, something beginning, one person might go, fantastic, wonderful, been looking forward to it. The other person goes, oh, no, I don't want it to be happening. So it is relative. And even the person that might have been looking forward to it then goes, oh, no, actually, I'm bored with it. I want it to end. The other person said, actually, I like this. I'm getting used to it. It's good. So even how we feel about something can change. But certainly in the context of the Buddha's teachings, the Buddha's dispensation, the Buddha said that most of our stress and suffering comes because of holding on, clinging, grasping, binding ourselves to things. And because things do change, that's the natural, normal law of things. When they start to change, then we can become upset because we're holding on, not wanting something to change. And so I gave various examples of that on the retreat day. And whether it's something that's changing about our body or our mind or our sort of relationships or work or the seasons or whatever, there's a sense of if we're not open to, receptive to accommodating this reality, then there's going to be stress and suffering. Even in the context of the fundamental core teaching of the Buddha, the four noble truths about stress and suffering. The first truth, yes, there is stress and suffering in life. That's a fact. There's happiness and joy and so forth, but there is stress and suffering. The second truth is there is a cause to our stress and suffering, and the fundamental cause is the clinging, the grasping, the holding. So if we let go, not let go as in like push away, deny, react, reject, but more just let go of binding or holding on and allowing things to change, enjoying things while they last. It's important. Not just, oh, I won't enjoy this because I might get attached to it. Therefore, I won't sort of enjoy this, and maybe I'll try to even avoid it. That's not the way, because what if you enjoy having a meal or enjoy breathing? It's like, oh, I won't breathe because I might enjoy it and get attached to it, or food or whatever. So it's about appreciating, enjoying, but also being able to let go, or not even binding to things, experiencing, and then it passes. That's okay. That's okay. And so that the third noble truth being that there is the ending, there can be the ending of stress and suffering because one has let go of getting caught up and attached to things. And there's the fourth truth, there is a practice path leading to the ending of stress and suffering, which is the practice path made up of living in a wholesome way, morality or ethics, virtue, developing the quality of our mind through meditation, and then developing understanding, wisdom, insight. Sila, Samadhi, Panya, morality, meditation, wisdom as the practice path, which divides into eight elements of practice, which are on the other chart. But certainly something to be more mindful and aware of, appreciating that things come and go, things change. And even if something good and wonderful changes or passes, doesn't mean that something different or better may not occur. It's about just being open, receptive, and even just also learning, okay, I'm missing, I'm grieving the loss of something. Well, that becomes a meditation or reflection in itself. To know, well, what is it that's grieving? Well, I'm upset. I've lost this, or I'm missing out on that, or that changed, or I had to let go of that. So, okay, well, what's that? That's self. That's ego. It's only self that suffers. If there's just calm, knowing awareness, then there's no suffering. But the mind that makes a sense of self, that holds on and makes itself out of things, I'm a this or I'm a that, this is who I am, but all these things are in time, then there's going to be stress and suffering when these things change, unless we let them go and not be so identified as these things. Whether it's, being identified with being 50, but then you can only do that for a year. You only identify for being in your 50s for 10 years. It's a bit longer, but then it changes. Or being working in a certain way. So the role changes, or the job's finished, or one's retired. So it's about, okay, be aware, learn from this, grow from this, and flow with this as well. It's part and parcel of our life. And there was some, in the notes that I handed out, there was some nice quotes in that. And one that I didn't read out was appreciating that which is within us but beyond change, which certainly the Buddha sort of pointed out as that enlightened mind, the unconditioned mind, the mind of nirvana or nibbana, but also the famous German poet Rilke, one of his verses where the ending of the verse translates as, "A billion stars go spinning through the night, blazing high above your head. But in you is the presence that will be when all the stars are dead." So a presence that it isn't us, it's not like I am there, but the presence is within us. So in you is the presence that will be when all the stars are dead. So it's about realizing that eternal aspect of one's being beyond time. And also a lovely quote from the Buddha, which is a little bit different than a lot of the Buddha's teachings, where the Buddha said, there is that sphere of being where there is no earth, no water, no fire, nor wind, no experience of infinity of space, of infinity of consciousness, of no thingness, or even of neither perception nor non-perception. Here there is neither this world nor another world, neither a moon nor sun, This sphere of being I call neither a coming nor a going, nor a staying still, neither a dying or a reappearance. It has no basis, no evolution, and no support. It is the end of dukkha, suffering. Where there is no attachment, there is no decline. Where there is no decline, there is calm. And where there is calm, there is no obsessive desire. Where obsessive desire is absent, there is neither coming nor going. There is no death, no birth, neither this life nor any afterlife, nor any in between. This is the end of dukkha, the end of suffering. So the opportunity that we had was to be aware of some of these things, reflect upon them in the context of the day, meditation, sitting meditation, walking meditation, even just being aware of the things, the beginnings and endings of in the context of the retreat day. The retreat day begins, the retreat day ends. A meditation session begins, a meditation session ends. An in-breath happens, an in-breath ends with an out-breath, etc., etc. Ongoing fabric of life. So for those that were here, any particular comments or reflections or insights or things you'd like to share about that day, share with everyone? Brendan?
So, not something specifically about the retreat day itself, but one of the reasons I enjoy the retreats so much is that calmness that is developed throughout the day. Will stay with me longer through the following week. And generally, when I meditate at home afterwards, calmer, deeper meditative states are attainable. And so I think it was Tuesday morning, and very strong sense of calm in my meditation early in the morning, rose earlier than normal, and a really strong sense of just that awareness, that presence that you just talked about. And going back to, I guess, the theme of endings and beginnings, it felt like that awareness, I guess the knower, the doer was kind of stripped away, and it felt like the end of the identity of identifying a self.
Yep.
And what was left was just awareness of that moment, and purely being in the moment. So yeah, that felt very profound, and wanted to get your thoughts on that as an ending beginning example. Is that an accurate understanding of that experience, that letting go of the self and an identity, that constructed identity, then just leaves us with that presence, that eternal kind of awareness.
Yeah, well, good. That's good. That's good. And certainly your experience and these types of experiences, they're sort of like an experience which happens because there's no experiencer. As soon as there's I'm having this, then that's not it. It's only after the fact that we can then, the mind can then reflect, remember, in a sense of, well, I had this happened to me at this time on this date in this way. But the reality is that there was just a happening, a happening, happened to no one, which is what makes it special, because no one was there to have it. And also, if there was someone there to have it, then it wouldn't have happened. It's only after the fact we go, oh, well, let's have a look and we can talk about it in this way. And even language is really limited. And these types of experiences are often, in a way, a word that describes them is ineffable, sort of unexplainable, sort of because they're beyond thinking. But we have to sort of use some sort of words to describe them, but often it's like the non-describing the what it's not. It wasn't this, it wasn't that. And even like the Buddha talking about enlightenment, it's not this and not that. The not arising of this, the non-passing of this, and so forth. But what's apparent in this type of experience, which fundamentally it's a meditative experience, and that's what we're looking to enable, or not even seeking, or not even trying to get, but more just allowing the constructs of the self to dissolve, dissipate, dissolve, disappear, to allow that fundamental pure awareness, let's say, just to be apparent, as opposed to everything being filtered through thinking, mind states, and that relate to self. And so that it also, after the fact, one can then consider, well, that the self, even the self that's thinking about this now, is just a construct. It's not always ongoing. It's just that the brain fires up a sense of identity, to identify with things, to identify as things, to relate to others. It's a relational tool, and at times it's not on. It's like, again, the iPhone. It's a relational tool. It doesn't always have to be on. It can be turned off and put aside. It's in peace. Should be done more often. And the same for the sense of self. The sense of self should also be paused or even stopped at times, so it's not always on. Otherwise, it's just the brain, the neural connections firing up, self-thinking, relating, remembering, considering, pondering, etc., they get tired. The amount of sleep that most people need is not because they're physically run down. They've been breaking rocks all day, digging holes all day. It's because they're just mentally run down from thinking about things, and mostly to do with themselves. I like, I don't like, what am I going to do next? What do they think of me? And should I do that? How can I get more of that? How can I push away that? It's like, it's tiring. So, and yes, in sleep, in deep sleep, self is not happening. Otherwise, you're not really asleep. But meditation becomes a time just to take off the persona. So to the mask, persona, the Greek word for mask, or otherwise personhood, personality, persona, take it off, okay? And there's just awarenessing in the present moment. And after the meditation, generally, you don't even need to pick it up. It's back there. I started thinking about things again, or the alarm went off. But allowing that opportunity, and the more the mind can have that opportunity, the more there's a sense of it being okay, as opposed to the mind going into fear. It's like, oh, I wasn't there. It was so scary. So suddenly self rush back again.
Well, certainly when I first reflected on it, the mind did say, well, who was that? Like, who was where? But then it was like, well, there was no one. There was no self there. It was just an awareness. Yeah. And so
there doesn't have to be a who.
No, yeah. And I was like, I was like, I don't know who that was. It wasn't someone. It wasn't an identity. So yeah. But yeah, certainly the mind came back and wanted to know, what's this about?
And so the good thing is that obviously having a retreat day, time to sit, calm, settle, center, be, breathe, know, allows and helps to facilitate further ongoing meditation practice and experiences like this. Good.
Following on that same track, John, Brendan has shared an experience of, the beginning of the rising of a meditative state, and then the experience, and then the ending of that, and then the rising of a reflective state and the experience of that, and then the ending of that. I just noticed with the practice of Buddhism, like, for example, on these Thursday evenings, we come together from all strands of life. There's a kind of ending of the world outside, and we enter this room, and then we begin a meditation. So we sort of start into a state that is without less cognitive, less thought, and we have our meditation, and then there's the ending of that, and then we begin a reflective sort of conversation where we're reflecting on the experience and bringing in that cognition. So there's these two aspects of the practice. The part that is going into a state that's beyond language, and then the part that's then bringing in language again. So I just wanted to understand, the purpose of those. Why do we not say, for example, have our meditation and then carry on that meditative state that is beyond language? Why do we bring that reflection in? Is it a way of strengthening the understanding and investigation of that? Is it a sort of way of balancing the hemispherical differences in our brain structure? So just trying to understand those two different aspects and the beginning and endings of that, and the purpose that the Buddha had in mind for the reflective practice on top of the actual practice.
Good question, and insightful way of explaining it and seeing it, and certainly yes, using the both sides of the brain, let's say, where the meditation is a bit more right brain, just awareness, present moment, non-verbal, non-thought, and then the left side more thinking, reflecting, and so forth. Another way to do it was like when I was in Sydney, sometimes we'd begin with a talk, and then we do the meditation afterwards. Different people sort of maybe sort of driving home. Where am I going? Who's driving? But often having had a meditation, then the mind is clearer, more alert, more attentive, more concise to then reflect, even listening to maybe some things that I might say or people might share, because the mind is just quiet. It's like, wow, more powerful and potent for connecting with a teaching, having had that quiet time. And it's a bit like the samatha vipassana approach, where we're developing the samatha, the calm, the samadhi, which then prepares the mind for that clarity, bringing in a particular thing to reflect upon for powerful insight. So it can work quite well together.
Okay. I notice sometimes in myself, like we have the meditation and then after the tea, you ask a question, anything anybody wants to share, and there's a sort of slight sense of panic within me of like, do I have an insight? What is that I want to share? How am I going to say it? And it's sort of the panic is more like, I'm quite happy in that meditative state. I'd like to continue that a bit more, and I don't necessarily want to come back to that.
And that's fine as well.
Cognitive reflection. So it's the restarting of that is, I suppose, in a way, there's a holding on. There's a holding on process going on of not wanting to end that, and then not wanting the beginning of the reflection. So in terms of beginning and endings, that's the, I suppose, the insight for myself of what I notice sometimes.
And maybe also the fact that not everyone's talking and I want to share, or you're talking too long, and I'm just, is because we've done the meditation first, so the mind's a bit quieter, and maybe doesn't really want to sort of think or say or comment or ask or whatever, and that's fine as well. Some meditation groups, they just come, they just sit, and they leave. That's it.
I cheated today. I had a preloaded question, so I didn't have to think about it. It was already there.
Meg, you were going to say something?
I was going to ask, do you feel like your meditation practice improved more by having group reflection and learning from other people compared to if you just did the meditation alone? I'd be interested.
I think the combination of both is really useful. I don't, on my own meditation practice, I don't have the time to have the reflection, to sit down and reflect on what happened there. I just sort of move into my day with that. So I think, yeah, then coming into this situation and then maybe there's that sort of noticing of sometimes I feel like I should have a question to ask. So that's kind of useful for me. And then listening to other people allows me to.
And there's no
be
shoulds.
clarity.
There's no shoulds.
Yeah, sure. So
But-
the noticing is in that there's shoulds that arise sometimes in me, and that's kind of just an interesting.
Yeah. However,
Yeah.
during the week, if there's something that you've been reading or some insight or understanding, you might go, okay, well, I'll ask John about that on Thursday, or I'll share that with the group. Even though after the meditation, like there's no questions happening, but actually I do have a question which came up during the week, and you can ask that.
But that already began and ended a while ago, and that question might be, unless it comes up relevant, it doesn't feel like that it's sort of arising in the now.
And that's fine as well. But certainly the Buddha's teachings is they say pariyati pati pati wet. So the pariyati is like studying. So we read or hear or listen or reflect on the Buddha's teachings. So some wisdom teachings. The pati is the practicing, and the pati wet is then the results, the fruition of both the study and the meditation practice. And certainly, there's lots of wonderful wisdom teachings that one can learn and understand, reflect upon in the context of the Buddha's teachings, for sure, which also enhance meditation, and the meditation also enhances the understanding of those teachings as well.
John, did the Buddha, before he became enlightened, do you know if he had a reflective mentor or a reflective practice that helped him to cultivate his own skill in meditation?
To some degree. So when he was 29, he left home to seek enlightenment, and so he practiced for 6 years with various meditation teachers in the area that had students and were quite highly developed in their meditation, and also aspects of wisdom teachings as well, fulfilled as much as they knew. And so he ended up then going off by himself, or he actually was with the 5 yogis, and they're into fasting and so forth. And so he tried that, but that didn't seem to work. It just got really weak. His mind got sort of dull and drowsy. So he then had that remembrance that when he was a child, he felt a sense of ease sitting under the rose apple tree, watching his father performing a ceremony, and his mind went into a deep state of calm, jhana. And then he had the thought, maybe this could be the way to enlightenment, and realized this is the way to enlightenment. Calm, clarity, depth of the mind in jhana, which means the mind has let go of a lot of superficial, extraneous things, the 5 hindrances. And so he then went, this is the way. So then deepening, developing the meditation through jhana, and then coming out of jhana into, so the absorption meditation, out into a less deep state, to then have reflections about cause and effect, and then the mind letting go into enlightenment. So there was a foundation there for him to use as a degree of reflection and also practice as well. Well, the next meditation day is coming up on Sunday, the 9th of March, with Ajahn Tiradhammo, most senior, or very senior Western Buddhist monk, one of the most Western senior monks in Australia, and certainly in the Theravada forest tradition in the world, one of the most senior ones. So that he'll be with us in a couple of weeks' time, giving the Thursday night session and then also the Sunday meditation day. So it'd be great to have him along to, you can ask him all the complicated questions you've been saving up. So we'll finish up for tonight. So thanks for coming out, and see you next time. Thank you.